Welcome back. Nice to see you again, YouTube viewers. Thanks for listening in. I'd like to welcome David Morgan from thesilverinvestor.com.
Thank you.
My name is David Silva from silverstampede.com. David has been gracious enough to give us some of his time here in Los Angeles and City of Angels, and we wanted to talk about precious metals, which you've been involved in for a long time, and how information about precious metals can perhaps help the average American taxpayer.
Exactly. Well, last time we were talking about what happened in Mexico with the devaluation, and I've said it many times, and people seem to trigger on this, but most every American at this point in time realizes that the money is worth less.
Right.
And then time goes on, and it's worth even less. So it's worth less, and it's worth less, and it's worth less, and then it's worthless. And that's the point that I think we really want to strive to, impact the listeners and the viewers on YouTube. It can become worthless. And that's really a shame because, as you said in the previous segment, if you're making $100,000 a year and you've got, say you've lived within your means, a lot of Americans haven't, but let's say that you have, and you're pretty debt free, you own your cars, everything's looking good, you've got a bank account. Well, if you are not smart enough to actually preserve that in real wealth in some way, shape, or form, and I'm not saying just silver and gold, as much of an advocate as I am for the precious metals, and I will continue to be, it could be in your own business, it could be in some kind of a hard asset situation, maybe you own a lumber yard or something like that. But most people, the precious metals are the best asset class to preserve your wealth. But if you didn't do that, you could actually be wiped out literally overnight. Now, I know that's the extreme case, but I want to make the extreme case, because if we back off from the extreme case, then we can clarify our thinking and we can say, oh, it's never going to get that bad. But, if it continues down the path it's already on, and the currency is worth less and worth less and worth less, and I've got to retire in a few years, what am I going to do? And then you take a look at a gold chart over the last 10 years, or a silver chart over the last 10 years. You look at how many hedge funds are moving into precious metals. You look at some of the best money managers on Wall Street are moving into physical gold. I mean, this is smart people coming on board. You go back early in the silver market. Who do you find buying silver when it was the lowest inflation-adjusted price of all time recorded history? Warren Buffett steps up to the plate and buys about 20% of the physical supply of silver in the world. Okay? So it's not something that isn't out there. It's an open secret, I'd call it. Most people are just kind of tuning in now, and the question I get most often is very simple. Is it too late to invest in silver? And the answer is no. Now, the answer is that it was inflation-adjusted low in 1999, in that time frame, basically. That's when Buffett made his purchase. If you could buy Dell stock after 5 or 10 years, before it first began, when no one knew about it for 5 years or so, very few knew about it, okay? You'd still be making a great investment. But I still wanted to prove that to myself, because emotionally I felt it, but I'm not all about emotion. I'm a rational man, right? So I sat down recently and said, okay, what is silver going to do over the next 10 years? Which comes back again to the first segment. The fastest growing part of the silver market is actually the industrial applications. It was 35% 10 years ago in 2000. It's now 54%. So better than half is industrial usage. And the investment demand is really starting to kick in since 2006. So we have two things going for us. We've got a huge industrial demand and a very large and growing investment demand on top of that. So I think it's one of the best. I mean, why don't we talk a little bit about your side of the business, selling physical silver? Why are you selling physical? Why aren't you selling some exotic, very nice gilded piece of paper that says, silver claim or something? I'm trying to make you laugh, but
because when push comes to shove, silver is silver and paper is paper. And I'd like to give somebody that's going to be solid, and nobody from Wall Street can take it away from you overnight. And this is an ounce of gold. It's worth $1,100. It's beautiful. It's a gold eagle made by the U.S. Mint. I like gold. I don't sell gold. This is 1 troy ounce of silver, brand new from Golden State Mint. This is worth $16. Now, if we did run into trouble with our currency, common sense tells me it's easier to break a $16 bill than an $1,100 bill. And I tend to go with the underdog. I tend to take the working person side, and I think more people can spend $16 than $1,100 sitting around.
Well, that brings me back to something that I was asked to do very early on. Someone from the United Kingdom found me, and they wanted, it's called the Investing Rules Book. You can look it up. I was the silver guru to write these 10 rules of silver investing. And rule number 1, and I haven't memorized, but I wrote it, it's very close. Nobody wants to be a prophet of doom. But in the event of the collapse of a monetary system, silver is the money of last resort. And the reason being is exactly what you just said. I mean, you don't want to go into your Burger King with an ounce of gold, you know? They're not going to know what to do with it. But if you went in with some pre-65, junk silver, as it's called in the trade, some dimes or some quarters that were 90% silver, you'd have a pretty good bartering item. And again, I just want to be real about this thing. Am I saying that's going to happen? No, I'm not. But what I'm trying to point out for everybody and to kind of wake them up is that which would be the money of last resort? I would say it would be silver, certainly. And it doesn't mean that you have to have something really catastrophic happen to use silver. I have a friend right here in California, in the central part of the state, that built his entire home basis silver. He bought the land on a silver contract.
Wow.
I will buy this acre from you for this many bars of 100-ounce fine silver.
Amazing.
He had the foundation poured for so many ounces of silver. He did a lot of work himself, and there's some stuff that it takes more work because you got to get somebody who says, I understand the value of silver, I will work for silver, it's okay, I know the price fluctuates in paper terms, but the weight of silver I'm taking home is a binding contract, it's okay with me, and that's how he built his home. So you don't have to have one of these end-of-the-world scenarios to actually use it in a transaction. It's just we're so unfamiliar with it. And yet, if you go back in time, if we do a little spaceship and go back in time, everybody in America 1964 earlier was transacting all business in silver. They just never thought about it.
Wow. And now we have paper.
Well, now we have paper.
David, we're just about out of time, but I'd like to thank you very much. David Morgan from silverinvestor.com. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.